wanted to start doing something more with my time. I've been following the Daily Stoic for a long time. They sold me this cool book, and I figured, well, why not read it for people? So, again, really beautiful leather bound, has gold inlays, gold exterior of the pages. I'm gonna go ahead and skip ahead from the prologue and stuff like that, and just open her up to the writings. So, generally speaking, Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, um, never designed to be, published. It was just his journal, diary, however you'd want to say it, and it's ended up being a framework for many of the Stoics in today's world. Beautiful animations, yeah, drawings maybe. Did I miss the? Oh, no, influences. It's a picture of Socrates, Antonius Pius, Domita, Calvilla, Epictetus, Junius Rusticius, and Zeno. My grandfather Verus, character and self-control. My father, for my own memories and his reputation, integrity and manliness. So, my understanding is that this first section is just him reflecting back on his mentors through the years and what they taught him. And it's I didn't say this, but this is my first read through. I read the first couple of pages before deciding to do this, but it really seems like he's really testing the waters, um, in terms of it feels uncomfortable in these first few sections. My grandfather Varus, it's 4 words, hyphen word, a word, I don't know. My father, for my own memory, and integrity, manliness, 3 words. But then my mother, her reverence for the divine, her generosity, her inability not only to do wrong, but even to conceive of doing it, and the simple way she lived, not in the least like the rich. So again, there's piety, a reverence for the divine, exceptionally generous, the caring mother, gives and gives, and almost an inability to do wrong. She can't even think of it. I think this man honored his mother in the way this reads. My great grandfather, to avoid the public schools, to hire good private teachers, and to accept the resulting costs as money well spent. Education above all else. Pay for good private teachers. Potentially here, my first teacher, no name, not to support this side or that in chariot racing, or the fighter, this fighter or that fighter in the games, to put up with discomfort and not make demands, to do my own work, mind my own business, and have no time for slanderers. So maybe this is a downplaying of sport and the overinvestment that people would make. He's not saying not to enjoy the chariot racing or the fight, but not to pick sides. And I maybe read that as being overinvested in outcomes, to put up with discomfort. Yeah. Because life's hard and you have to just deal with it and not make demands because life is outside of our control. To do my own work, mind my own business, and have no time for slanderers. So, complete what's yours because it's yours, and it doesn't matter what they say about you. Yeah, I feel that one. Diod, Diogenetus. Diogenetus. Not to waste time on nonsense, not to be taken by conjurers and hoodoo artists with their talks about incantations and exorcism, and all the rest of it. Not to be obsessed with quail fighting or other crazes like that, to hear unwelcome truths, to practice philosophy, and to study with Bacchius and then with Tandasis and Marcianus, to write dialogues as a student, to choose the Greek lifestyle, the camp bed, and the cloak. So let's go back to the beginning of that one. Not to waste time on nonsense. Oh, goddamn. I spend too much time on nonsense. Not to be taken in by conjurers and hoodoo artists with their talk about incantations and exorcism. So, I'm not sure how to read that. It feels like it could be pushed out onto religion generally, but I don't think that's what is intended with this translation. You know, conjurers and hoodoo artists. That seems, and incantations. Those are things that are more about the performer than they are about the underlying, philosophy, religion of the actions and all the rest of it. Not to be obsessed with quail fighting or other crazes like that. Yeah, fads are a distraction. To hear or welcome unwelcome truths, you have to listen to the critiques. Practice philosophy, nice, check. And to study with Bacchius and then with Tandasis and Marcianus. So again, a stress on the teacher. The teacher. That's the second time I've noticed here. Hire the teacher. To write dialogues as a student, writing, you know. And then to choose the Greek lifestyle, the camp bed and the cloak. That one I might need to go to Google to understand. Restitious. The recognition that I needed to train and discipline my character. Um, this one hit home for me because that's through a lot of this. That's I say this, and that's unfair to leave you out. That's what I've been missing for a lot of my life, and that's something that I've always hoped and waited for to come externally, but it's never arrived. And it was interesting reading this from Rusticius. I'm assuming one of his teachers. The recognition that I needed to train and discipline my character. It was needed to train his character. Recognition was needed for him to be able to discipline his own character. So his character was not built and defined by the teacher outside of the fact that I'm assuming good actions were recognized positively and bad actions to the contrary. I'll try to avoid my own personal story too much through this. But when you're missing something like that, you feel it. And it's something that I've wanted for myself to be able to feel defined. And I feel that this is something that I've unfortunately always been missing and always tried to source. But anyway, moving on. Not to be sidetracked by my interest in rhetoric, not to write treatises on abstract questions, or deliver moralizing little sermons, or compose imaginary descriptions of the simple life or the man who lives only for others, to steer clear of oratory, poetry, and bell letters. So instead of sections, I'll do this by paragraph. Not to be sidetracked by my interest in rhetoric. Again, I used to have a lot of fun, arguing around people, and that's something that I was always good at. But really, it's just when you do that, it's a circle. That's where you end up, right where you began. It doesn't actually move you anywhere. Not to write treatises on abstract questions. Now that yeah, I can't say I sat and wrote anything that was there, but it was always an interesting thing. It was just, arguing for argument's sake. I never, and then, or deliver moralizing little sermons. Definitely something, a trap I fell into. A strong sense of justice. And then, you lean on your friends a bit too hard, maybe, with your own moral high ground. Or compose imaginary descriptions of the simple life or the man who lives only for others. I think he's trying to say that those are just imaginary things. There is no simple life. You can't live only for others. I don't know what bell letters are, but to steer clear of oratory, poetry, and bell letters. I'm assuming those are just, he's referring to, words for strictly for beauty's sake. Live in philosophy. And I think that can rope in the rest of this paragraph. Unless it's real. Unless it's real, it's not worth spending time on. No abstract questions. No rhetoric for rhetoric's sake. Avoid the lies of the simple life and the man who lived only for others. Anyway, not to dress up just to stroll around the house or things like that, always with a purpose. To write straightforward letters like the ones he sent my mother from Sinuessa. I'm saying that like Italian because Rome is in Italy. And to behave in a conciliatory way when people who have angered or annoy us want to make up. Allow them to apologize. Maybe that's a problem with me. I don't have many people apologizing to me. And I would have to imagine that's my own fault. To read attentively, not to be satisfied with just getting the gist of it, and not to fall for every smooth talker, and for introducing me to Epictetus's lectures and loaning me his own copy. Yeah. So always with a purpose. And then what do they call that? Just getting, not to be first order thinking, I think is what they're referring to this now. To read attentively and not be satisfied with just getting the gist of it. Understand the A to Z process. And I think it's more that not to fall for every smooth talker, but getting the gist of it, not going deeper than just the gist of it, will help you avoid falling for every smooth talker. And for introducing me and loaning me his own copies. Yeah, some selfless actions, and introducing him to another great teacher. Apollonisis, independence in unvarying reliability, and to pay attention to nothing, no matter how fleeting, except the logos, and to be the same in all circumstances, intense pain, the loss of a child, chronic illness, and to see clearly from this example, and to see clearly from his example that a man can show both strength and flexibility. I think that last little phrase really speaks the whole paragraph. A man can show both strength and flexibility. Life comes at you with a lot. Pain. And it's just, as long as you stay reliable and singularly focused on the logos. And I don't know what that is. But a man is allowed to show both strength and flexibility. His patience in teaching, and to have seen someone who clearly viewed his expertise and ability as a teacher as the humblest of virtues. Don't tell that to the teachers' union. And to have learned how to accept favors from friends without losing your self respect or appearing ungrateful. That's an important one. Don't be a whore to your friends. And definitely don't be ungrateful for what they provide. So, I think that's a good place to stop. It's a first venture for me. I just wanted to get this one on the books. I've been trying to do something like this for a while. I think this is a pretty good place to start. I'm a big fan of what the Daily Stoic does in terms of content, and I appreciate very much the philosophy that goes into um, Stoicism. Uh, the more I learn about it, the more interesting it becomes, and I guess I was just most interested in really diving into one of the core writings of that school. So, thank you for watching. All me of you who